My name is Noah Shebib, aka 40, and we are in my unnamed studio in an undisclosed location. And I'm a mixer and a producer and a writer, and welcome to my new home. It's funny, the one thing that will always make me smile and at the end of the day make everything okay, no matter what is going on in this crazy business, is just a good song. Just hitting play and being happy with a piece of music you just made is what keeps me here and in this studio. It's not even hearing it on the radio or getting accolades for anything. That's not why I'm here. I'm here because the feeling of completing a piece of music that you're passionate about and listening back to it and feeling confident that it sounds how it's supposed to sound, you did what you were supposed to do to it, that's the best feeling to me and what makes me smile and why I do this. But on the flip side, if you don't get it how you want it to sound, that's also the most devastating and the most painful experience. So it's a double-edged sword. Probably the biggest challenges that I face as a mixer and just a music maker overall is mixing for laptops and iPhones, mixing in a way that I can translate across minimal quality speakers where people are going to take in the material for the first time and therefore pass judgment on it at that moment, as well as mixing for a hi-fi quality system. It's a balance. I want it to punch you right away coming out your laptop, so when you're on the blog and you click play, you're like, oh, I like this, opposed to being like, I don't like this. It's lackluster, it's not impactful. I've already judged this song and this performance and this artist, and I'm moving on to something else. But then at the same time, being able to play that through a hi-fi system with real bottom end and real sub frequencies that translates properly, so you're like, wow, this is overpowering. Whereas that same mix that works so well on those laptops and is crunchy and full of high end and really, really loud and overpowering off the first listen sounds awful on a real hi-fi system. So that balance to me is the most challenging and difficult process for mixing a record today. The listener today is expecting something that kind of contradicts what I want to provide. They're expecting volume, Volume seems to be the most important thing today as far as a mix is concerned. People want to hear things really, really loud. But the problem is that you only have so much headroom. 0 is 0, and if you cross it, you distort. So it's trying to figure out how to get things as loud as you can so that the listener right away is responsive to it, Whereas for me, I wish I could make it more about the quality and the dynamic range. I wish there was more dynamic range in music, because as I speak about like tools that you can use to bring your listener on a journey, dynamic range is like one of the greatest tools in music. That's symphonic composition, that's orchestration, right? Is that dynamic range of going from those soft strings to those big crashing timpanis and drums and horns, that those play on dynamics really pulls your emotions up and down as a listener. And it's very difficult to do that when people just want like loud, 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 smash, smash, smash. Again, partially because they're listening on a laptop or a pair of earbuds, opposed to a system that can really give them an experience as a listener. It's a very, very fine balance of quality and ignorant loudness. The evolution of mixing over the last 15 years is drastic. As the mediums that we've recorded and played back from have changed and changed and changed until the world and the industry settled with Pro Tools a decade ago or so, and that's sort of where we've been ever since. Obviously that changed the dynamic of the process, the speed, the ease of which you could do it all, but some argue that there was a sacrifice, but at the end of the day, those are the same people that will argue that a record sounds better than a CD. So that's subjective for a lot of people. If you want to hear a record that has hiss and some warmth in it and doesn't have the high-end fidelity, then that's your preference. But at the end of the day, if you start with the real quality of a compact disc or that pristine frequency response from 20 to 20K, you can go wherever you want from there. And that's the beauty of it, you know? Give me all the quality. Give me all of the frequencies. I'll decide what I want to distort. I'll decide what I want to put in and pull out. And ultimately, I will achieve that sound of 2-inch tape if I so choose that that's where I need to take this record. You can get there almost in a better way. You know, tape was just easier. You just slam it and you get this distortion back that felt good. But when you get all of the quality and the flexibility that you get with something like Pro Tools, you can take your mixes to other places. You have infinite possibilities, and you can always go back to that world of distortion if you so choose, you know? And that to me is the most important thing, and that's why I will always stand by mixing in a digital environment. The main thing that Avid sort of did for me as a producer and a mixer is provide, and this is for the world, this is for music in general, not for me, is provide a seamless standard of quality that you could trust. And to me, it's the only one to trust. It's the only one that has a reputation you can trust. You know, there's lots of great sequencers and DAWs out there, but what's behind them? What can I trust? What's there? It's just a sequencer, it's just a program. It's all dependent on a computer. That's not enough for me, I need more than that. Sure, there's other consoles, but when you get behind them, what's there? Well, you're back at Pro Tools again. So I'm in a system where Pro Tools is talking to my console and vice versa. And like that alone gives me an advantage over, I feel like, everybody else who's mixing without an S5 or mixing just inside Pro Tools. Those two things stacked on top of each other is like, okay, that's it. I've got everything now. The point is that you are now able to adjust everything as you're moving in different environments and discovering issues or problems. You can fix them and address them anywhere, right away, on the fly. And that's like, how could I ever go back from that, you know? From a mixing standpoint, one of my favorite parts about the S5 is just its sheer flexibility and being able to A/B mixes and move things around the bus system anywhere you want and label everything so I can set up all my control room sources as mix A and mix B and 16-bit and dithered and straight out the box and with compression and without compression, have them all in the touch of a button to flip and swap and A/B mixes. Like, you know, in the past you'd have to do a lot of work and have a lot of CD players running and a lot of, you know, other monitor matrices hooked up that are really, really good quality so you could be able to do something like that and trust what you're listening to. But within an S5, you know, it's all right there for you to put together however you so choose. And that's one of the ways that I use this desk that maybe isn't a little bit unorthodox or not, but I lay out a lot of reference points that I can easily flip between, and that like changes things for me again as far as speeding up my workflow. A patch net is like gotta be probably one of the most helpful expediters of time I've come into. I mean, not having to put together a spaghetti mess on a patch bay and recall it and track sheet it is like, you know, that cuts down my workflow immensely. You know, these desks are modular. You have your buckets to choose. You pick what you want, what's going to suit your flow of work. And it was a pretty easy decision for me to decide what I needed in here and how much power and tracks. I've built this desk and torn it down like 10 times single-handedly by myself with my eyes closed at this point. So as far as support's concerned, everybody's been really helpful about anything regarding software and emix and making sure everything's up to date, and Yukon and all the updates have been on par and everything's coming, you know, directly to me if I need it, and extremely supportive. But the greatest thing has been just like it's easy, you know. It's like it's not a complicated desk. This is not an old SSL, man. You just plug in some Ethernet jacks and you fire it up and you're rocking, you know? It's clean. The best advice I can give to young mixers or people who want to get into this business, and especially on a technical side, is to just start using what you can get your hands on and do good work. And if you do that, the doors will open for you and you'll get to the places you need to go. The biggest mistake I think people make in this business is take a jump or a leap of faith based off the fact that they think they need something to work or they think they need something to do these things. You just need the basics, and once you get the basics, you can move, and that's it. So for me, it was a Pro Tools LE system. That's how I made all of, you know, Drake's first few records were on a very basic system that most people today would say, no, under no circumstances will I work with an old Pro Tools LE system. That's not enough power for me. But the point is that it's there. Just learn how to use it properly. That's the key. Don't rely on buying like the newest plugin that you just slap on your vocal and it's done. Like learn how to use an EQ and a compressor. What I mean is that you understand the fundamentals. Don't just grab a threshold, an attack, and a release. What is an attack and a release and a threshold? What are they doing to your signal? Understanding that is the most important part. And then you're gonna find real quality and you're gonna find how to mix and make music properly.